a man finds a secret subway where riders vanish, and ends up on a one-way trip to hell. Late at night, an unknown man wakes up alone in a rusty subway car and realizes he may have missed his stop. He heads toward the next car but slips and falls into a sticky, dark viscous puddle. Panic grips him as his breath catches in his throat. From the adjacent car, he hears muffled thuds and strange, wet sounds, like someone butchering fresh meat. Driven by dread and curiosity, he peers inside, and sees a deranged killer in the middle of butchering his next helpless victim. A sudden clang echoes through the tunnels. Meanwhile, photographer Leon Kaufman is taking shots at the scene of yet another accident. Later, he returns to the small apartment he shares with his girlfriend, Maya Jones. Noticing how drained he looks from work, Maya decides to lift his spirits with a surprise. Excitedly, she tells him she reached out to his boss, Jurgis, and asked him to set up a meeting for Leon with Susan Hoff, the owner of a well-known art gallery. The next day, Leon and Jurgis head to Susan's office. Leon explains that his style is raw, gritty street photography, but the gallerist remains unimpressed. She critiques his work as soulless and lacking courage. Susan challenges him to dig deeper into the city's underbelly and capture something truly shocking. For now, she turns him down. That night, unable to sleep and feeling defeated, Leon takes a walk through the city in search of inspiration. He ends up in a nearly deserted subway station. On the stairs, he spots three men harassing a young woman named Erica. Without hesitating, Leon starts photographing the scene. One of the men notices him and approaches aggressively. Leon keeps shooting, capturing the thug's snarling face, then points to a nearby security camera to deter him. The bluff works. The men reluctantly let Erica go and walk off. Erica thanks Leon for his bravery and even kisses him before rushing into the subway car. The doors nearly close on her, but a tall, well-dressed man holds them open. She smiles and thanks him as she steps inside. As the train starts moving, Erica puts on her headphones to unwind. But suddenly, the same man approaches from behind, and strikes her in the head with a hammer. Back home, Leon develops the photos of the attack on Erica. Maya urges him to show them to Susan, convinced this is exactly the kind of work she's looking for. Later that day, Leon stops by the cafe where Maya works as a waitress. A dedicated vegan, he brings his own tofu and asks the chef to prepare it for him. The chef reluctantly agrees, muttering that he'll never understand how anyone can eat something so tasteless. As Leon flips through a newspaper, a headline catches his eye: a well-known model has gone missing. To his shock, it's Erica, the same woman he saw on the subway. Disturbed, Leon decides to hand over the photos of her attackers to the police. Detective Lynn Hadley takes on the case but is immediately suspicious of Leon. She questions his story, suggesting he may have been stalking Erica and could even be involved in her disappearance. That same day, Leon meets with Susan again to show her the new photos. This time, she's impressed. She finally acknowledges his talent and asks him to prepare a few more powerful images for her upcoming gallery show, which is set to open in 3 weeks. That evening, Leon, Maya, and Jurgis celebrate at a bar. But the celebration is short-lived. Leon decides to head back into the subway in search of more material. Meanwhile, in one of the train cars, 3 passengers, a woman and 2 men, are quietly chatting, sharing rumors about the recent disappearances in the subway. Suddenly, the train diverts from its usual route. The woman catches a glimpse of a tall, intimidating figure reflected in the curved security mirror. It's a man slowly rising from his seat and walking toward them. Panicked, she tries to warn the others, but they brush her off. Without warning, the man, revealed to be Mahogany, strikes one of the men in the head with a hammer so violently that his eyes pop out. He then turns to the second man, driving a meat hook into his chest and lifting him off the ground. The woman scrambles to flee but slips in a dark puddle on the floor. Mahogany notices and approaches her slowly. The second man, still clinging to life, grabs Mahogany's leg in desperation. But the killer finishes him off with another brutal swing of the hammer. The woman doesn't make it out either. Mahogany decapitates her with chilling precision. Back at the subway entrance, Leon scans the crowd, looking for interesting faces to photograph. His gaze locks onto Mahogany, who's ascending the escalator. There's something so menacing about the man's appearance that Leon can't resist. He snaps a few photos and decides to discreetly follow him. Rounding a corner, Mahogany suddenly stops, as if sensing he's being watched. Leon freezes. After a few tense seconds, he tries to casually walk past, but Mahogany grabs him by the arm. Leon notices a ring with an intricate 8-pointed star on the man's finger. Startled, he quickly apologizes and explains he just wanted to take a few shots. To Leon's surprise, Mahogany lets him go. The criminal walks away, and Leon watches him enter the nearest hotel. Back home, still shaken, Leon continues developing his photos. Suddenly, he spots the same star-shaped ring on the hand of the man who held the subway car door for Erica. Now he's sure, Mahogany is the mysterious criminal the city rumors have been buzzing about. From that moment, Leon becomes obsessed with tracking Mahogany. He follows him through the city, snapping new pictures, and discovers that Mahogany works as a skilled butcher. Curious, Leon waits until the end of Mahogany's shift and secretly tails him to the subway station. Mahogany acts on edge, constantly looking around, spending hours at the station, sizing up his next unsuspecting victim. Meanwhile, Leon keeps photographing the elusive criminal. Finally, the right train arrives and Mahogany boards a car. Leon tries to get on with him but is stopped by a police officer demanding to see his camera. Inside the car, a large man starts teasing Mahogany. Looking out the window, Mahogany realizes the train has taken the wrong route, but it's already too late. Suddenly, he attacks, swinging a heavy hammer and knocking the man down. But then he freezes. The butcher drops the hammer as a crimson liquid drips from his mouth. An unknown man with a knife takes advantage of the moment. He jumps up and tries to stab Mahogany, but Mahogany dodges skillfully. A brutal fight breaks out. Their shouting catches the attention of the train operator, Mahogany's silent accomplice. Without hesitation, he pulls out a gun and moves to help the butcher. He shoots the man in the head and sneers, saying he didn't expect Mahogany to mess up like that. Meanwhile, at a cozy cafe at the end of the workday, Leon surprises Maya. He gives her a ring as a symbol of their future engagement, since he can't afford a real wedding ring yet. Maya assures him it's perfect. They kiss, then make love in the empty cafe. That night, Leon has a nightmare. He's on a midnight train, surrounded by lifeless bodies, cutting the throat of another victim himself. Waking up drenched in cold sweat, Leon realizes he's obsessed with the butcher. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Mahogany, suffering from a mysterious skin condition, stands in front of a cracked mirror, carefully cutting away patches of overgrown flaking skin with a sharp scalpel. For some unknown reason, he collects these skin pieces, neatly storing them in dusty jars on the bathroom shelves. At home, Maya notices that the same shadowy man appears in all of Leon's recent photos. She asks who he is, and Leon admits he suspects the butcher of committing brutal crimes. Maya urges him to hand the photos over to the cops and move on. He needs to focus on his shots for Susan's exhibition. But Leon can't stop. The next day, he heads to the quiet library and starts digging through newspapers from 1895. One faded headline mentions a butcher suspected of similar crimes. Then, pretending to be a butcher himself, Leon sneaks into the slaughterhouse where Mahogany works. He quietly snaps photos of the men processing animal carcasses. Suddenly, Mahogany spots him. Leon bolts, but the butcher grabs a rusty meat hook and chases after him. In a desperate bid to hide, Leon squeezes between hanging bloody carcasses. Trying to stay hidden, he grabs onto a rusty hook and freezes in terror, hoping to go unnoticed. After a few minutes, Leon thinks the danger's past, until he feels the butcher right behind him. Panicking, he breaks free, knocking over frantic workers as he runs, and somehow manages to escape alive. Later that day, Leon meets Jurgis at a dimly lit cafe. He watches as the boss devours a huge steak. Unexpectedly, vegan Leon grabs a piece from Jurgis's plate and eats it greedily. Then he orders a full portion for himself, shocking both Jurgis and the chef, who's used to serving him bland tofu. Back at home, Leon covers every surface with photos of Mahogany and newspaper clippings about mysterious disappearances in the subway. When Maya comes back, she's horrified by how consumed Leon has become with the butcher. She doesn't support his investigation, but Leon bombards her with his wild theories about Mahogany's crimes. He's convinced the 1895 disappearances are connected to Mahogany, but Maya thinks he's lost his mind. Frustrated by his obsession, she begs him to stop his late-night stakeouts and drop the conspiracy theories. Trying to distract him, Maya asks Leon to take her picture, but he can't focus. Just as Leon tries to take a shot, horrific shadowy images flash before his eyes, scenes of the slaughterhouse, the subway, and other nightmarish visions. Maya, tears in her eyes, retreats to another dimly lit room, and Leon realizes he's acting like a paranoid maniac. That evening, Leon goes to Maya's cozy cafe to apologize for his behavior. She kisses him, hoping things will get better, but suddenly, Leon spots Mahogany lurking outside the cafe window. His obsession surges back with full force, and he starts tailing the butcher again. Leon rushes to the subway, readies his camera, and boards a train. In the next car, he spots Mahogany and continues to watch him secretly. At the last stop, a few passengers get on, and soon, they meet the same terrifying fate. Trembling with fear, Leon films the gruesome massacre. Then, he witnesses something even more horrifying. Mahogany rips teeth and eyes from his victims, shaves off their nails and hair, and hangs the bodies upside down. Leon keeps filming, but suddenly their eyes meet. Mahogany smirks, and Leon bolts through the cars. The butcher catches up and slams Leon's head brutally into the glass. When Leon comes to, he finds himself hanging upside down in an abandoned subway car, his body wrapped in horrifying slimy black tentacles. He loses consciousness again. Later, he wakes up at the slaughterhouse where Mahogany works. Somehow, Leon manages to escape and returns home. When Maya finally finds him, she tries to find out what happened, but Leon shuts her out. Locked in the bathroom, he notices strange black circular marks on his chest. Shaken, Leon shows the marks to Maya. She wants to call an ambulance immediately, but Leon stops her. He explains that Mahogany really is behind the disappearances. The butcher kills his victims on the same midnight train, then hides their bodies at the slaughterhouse, right above the abandoned subway line. Leon tells her he filmed the horrors, and Maya suggests developing the photos and taking them to the police. But Mahogany took Leon's camera, so now the only proof they have is the mark on Leon's chest. Spotting a hotel sign in one of the photos, Maya gets an idea. Together with Jurgis, they decide to break into Mahogany's room to find Leon's camera. Carefully sneaking inside, Jurgis begins examining the butcher's grisly tools in the bedroom, while Maya searches the bathroom. Opening a cabinet above the sink, she freezes in horror, shelves full of jars stuffed with pieces of human skin. Suddenly, as if sensing something wrong, Mahogany returns to the room. Meanwhile, Jurgis finds Leon's camera in a closet, but Mahogany appears behind him, raising a heavy hammer to strike. Maya slips out of the bathroom and finds the butcher's satchel. Inside, there's a collection of ancient train schedules from the past 100 years, with dates of crimes marked in red. Suddenly, she hears a strange creak from the bedroom door and decides to check on Jurgis. Peeking behind the closet door, she catches a glimpse of Mahogany's broad shoulder and bolts from the room, barely escaping. Soon after, Maya arrives at the police station, demanding they check Mahogany's room. But after a while, Detective Hadley tells her the officers found nothing suspicious. Maya insists Mahogany is a deranged killer responsible for dozens of disappearances in the subway, but Hadley threatens to arrest her for trespassing and demands she hand over the train schedules. Realizing the police won't help, Maya leaves frustrated. Meanwhile, an art gallery is opening an exhibit. Leon, pale and distracted, struggles to keep up polite conversation. Suddenly, he freezes in front of a photo of himself, where Mahogany's piercing eyes seem to glow and stare right at him. Snapping out of it, Leon tells Susan he needs to catch a train and leaves, leaving the gallery owner puzzled. Back on the streets, Maya grabs a gun from a cafe and decides to find Jurgis herself. Suddenly, Hadley shows up, clearly been watching her, and demands the train schedules again. But Maya points the gun at her, determined to find out where Jurgis is. Finally, Hadley admits he's on the train, confirming her suspicions that she's dealing with Mahogany and the disappearances. Maya boards the very same night train, gun ready. Meanwhile, Leon arrives at the slaughterhouse. He puts on the butcher's apron and grabs knives, an axe, and a hook, preparing for a showdown with Mahogany. The train suddenly veers off its route, and Maya moves cautiously through the cars, searching for Jurgis. Out of nowhere, Leon spots her and, terrified, jumps onto the moving train, hoping to save her from a grim fate. But Maya keeps looking and soon finds Jurgis, still alive, hanging upside down from a hook, begging for help. Desperately, Maya screams and tries to free him, but the noise quickly draws Mahogany's attention. She fires at the butcher but misses. Then she runs, but Mahogany throws a hammer that knocks her off her feet. The butcher is ready to deliver the final blow to Maya when Leon suddenly appears behind him. They clash fiercely, using everything they can grab: hooks, knives, broken chains. In the chaos, Mahogany accidentally finishes off Jurgis, stabbing him through the stomach. Leon manages to shove Mahogany off the speeding train. Maya and Leon reunite, barely catching their breath, when suddenly the lights go out in the car. Then the conductor steps in, telling them to step away from the meat. And that's when the nightmare begins. From the tunnel, the monsters Leon knows all too well crawl out and attack the passengers, ripping them apart. Leon and Maya run onto the platform and find an underground crypt, littered with the bones of the victims. Suddenly, a mutilated Mahogany drags himself out from under the train, his eyes blazing with fury. He lunges at Leon for one last fight, but the photographer manages to end it, stabbing a sharp bone, taken from one of the victims, deep into Mahogany's neck. Mahogany snarls and, with his last breath, warns Leon that now it's his turn to hunt humans. Out of nowhere, the conductor appears on the abandoned platform. He grabs Leon, rips out his tongue, and greedily swallows it. As Leon writhes in pain, the conductor explains that these monsters have been on Earth long before humans. A small secret group protects and feeds these creatures, keeping order so that the dark and light worlds remain separate. Then, right in front of a shocked Leon, the conductor turns to the weakened Maya, cuts open her chest, and pulls out her still beating heart. The conductor hands Leon the heart and urges him to serve the darkness without question, just like Mahogany did. The next day, the new butcher slips on a ring with a star, while Detective Hadley passes him the train schedules. The Midnight Express sets off once again on its monstrous route. Meanwhile, in one of the cars, the same man who became a victim at the very start of this story sleeps unaware. The new executioner lifts his head. It's Leon. And now, he's ready to serve the darkness. What do you think real-life serial killers are really hiding? Maybe there's something darker, something deeper driving them beyond just the urge to kill. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Catch you in the next video.